cold wind screamed over the white land. Snow fell like tiny knives, sharp and endless. The sky was gray, the ground pure white. No trees, no birds, no sound, only silence. A small figure moved slowly across the ice. Her name was Lyra. Her lips were blue and her face pale. Her hands shook as she held something close to her chest, a bundle wrapped in silver cloth. Inside was her baby, Rin. She looked up at the sky. Her eyes were tired. Her spaceship had crashed 2 days ago. No one had come. No signal. No rescue. Nothing. Just snow. Just silence. Lyra found a small cave in the side of a frozen hill. She went inside, falling to her knees. Her breath made white clouds in the air. She placed the baby in her lap and wrapped her arms around him. "I'm sorry, my baby," she whispered. "I tried." The baby did not cry. He was quiet, sleeping. His tiny chest moved up and down slowly. Lyra pulled her last heat patch from her coat. She pressed it against the baby's chest. A soft glow appeared. It would keep him warm for 1 more hour. She had no food, no fire, no strength left in her body. She had walked too far. Her legs were numb. Her fingers couldn't feel the cold anymore. That was a bad sign. She closed her eyes. Memories came. She remembered her home planet, green and full of flowers. She remembered her husband, who died in the war. She remembered running with Rin, escaping the enemy ships. She remembered the stars shining above, full of hope. But now there was no hope. Only snow. Only the end. She opened her eyes and looked at her baby. "I love you," she whispered, tears freezing on her cheeks. "You're so strong." Her voice broke. Her head dropped slowly, her body curling around Rin like a blanket. She wanted to die with him in her arms. Together, warm for just a little while. Outside, the wind howled louder. The storm was growing then. Sound. Crunch, crunch. Footsteps, slow. Heavy. Someone or something was walking across the snow. A shadow passed the mouth of the cave. Lyra didn't move. She was almost unconscious, her mind fading. The shadow came closer. A tall figure stood at the edge of the cave. His eyes glowed faint blue. His body was covered in dark metal armor. Steam rose from his shoulders like heat fighting the cold. He said nothing. He stepped inside. He looked at the woman and her baby. The woman's body was almost still. The baby made a soft sound. The man bent down, his hand opened. A warm light spread from his palm, covering the cave in soft heat. Snow on the walls began to melt. He gently picked up the child. The baby was alive, but weak. He looked at the woman. "Again, still breathing," he said in a low voice. His voice was strange. Not human, but not a machine either. Something in between. He pulled a small fire cube from his bag. It glowed bright orange. He placed it near them. Warmth filled the air. The woman's fingers moved. She opened her eyes slowly. For a second, she saw the fire. Then she saw a face above her half-covered glowing eyes. Metal skin. She gasped. Who are you?" she whispered. The man didn't answer. He reached into his bag and gave her water. She drank weakly. "My baby." "He is safe," the man said. His voice was flat but not cold. She tried to sit up, but her body was too weak. "Don't move," he said. She looked into his eyes. They were strange, but not cruel. Something about him felt kind, maybe. She blinked slowly. Sleep was pulling her down again. "Thank you," she said softly. Then everything went dark. Outside, storm screamed across the land, but inside the cave, fire crackled softly. The baby slept, the woman rested, and the man watched over them. Both silent and still, like a ghost of warmth in a frozen world. Who was he? Why was he here? And how did he find them? The answers would come soon, but for now, there was only fire and silence. Asterisk opening hook. The fire crackled softly. Warmth touched her skin. But when Lyra opened her eyes, she saw a man with metal hands, glowing eyes, and no name. Snow still fell outside, but inside the cave, there was warmth. Lyra blinked slowly. She was lying on a bed made from strange cloth, not hers. Her body felt warmer, stronger than she. Remembered-RIN. She sat up fast, panicked. My baby. Safe, said a voice. She turned her head quickly. He sat near the fire, quiet. His tall body blocked the cave's entrance like a dark wall. His face was half covered with a black mask. Only his eyes showed blue, glowing gently in the shadows. Lyra looked down. RIN lay next to her, wrapped tightly in a thick blanket. His cheeks were red. His little chest rose and fell slowly. He was alive. Who are you? She whispered. The man didn't answer. He stared into the fire. Lyra studied him. His boots were not made of leather. They looked like armor. His jacket had metal plates on the arms. And when he moved slightly, she saw it. His left hand was not flesh, it was metal. A machine? No. He moved too naturally. She spoke again. You saved us? The man looked at her, then nodded once. She wanted to ask more, but her throat was dry. He handed her a small silver pack. She opened it. Inside was warm soup. The smell was rich, strange but good. She drank. Her body slowly began to feel alive. Again, outside, the wind screamed. Inside, the silence between them grew heavier. Finally, she broke it. Are you human? His head turned slightly. Partly, why are you here? I live here. Lyra looked at him, confused. No one lives here. I do. He stood up and walked to the mouth of the cave. The storm was still wild. He watched it like he was reading the sky. Then he turned. You cannot stay here. Cold will get worse, but I can't walk far with Rin. He nodded again. I'll carry him. Her heart raced. Could she trust him? This stranger with metal hands and glowing eyes? She looked at Rin, who slept peacefully. You have a name? She asked. The man paused. I was once called Kale. She repeated it softly. Kale. Walked back to the fire, opened his bag, and pulled out 2 small discs. He placed them on the ground. Instantly, a blue shield surrounded them like a bubble of soft light. The wind and cold vanished. Inside the bubble, it was calm, warm. Lyra was shocked. What is that? Old Tech Kale replied. From before the fall? Before the fall? He didn't answer. She looked at him closely. His eyes were tired, like he had lived for a very long time. Why did you help us? She asked. There was silence. Then he said softly, because I remember what it means to be human. That night, she didn't sleep much. She kept looking at Kale. He didn't close his eyes. He didn't rest. Sat beside the fire, watching both of them, silent and still. But once, just once, Lyra saw him reach out to gently touch Rin's hand. A sound, and in that moment, she saw something in Kale's eyes. Loneliness, outside. The storm howled louder, but inside that small light bubble, a broken woman, her tiny child. A strange man made of flesh and steel shared the warmth of fire. And something else? Hope. Opening hook, Lyra woke to a sound she had never heard before, the ground humming beneath her. Outside, the storm wasn't just wind now. It was screaming. Lyra sat up quickly. Rin whimpered in his sleep. The blue energy bubble around them flickered across. The cave Kale stood still, his hand pressed against the wall. His metal fingers were glowing. What's happening? Lyra asked, scared. Kale didn't move his eyes from the wall. The ice is changing. Something is coming. The storm, he said softly. Not just the storm, them. A cold fear passed through her. Kale turned to her. Calm, but serious. They are creatures from the deep ice. They move beneath the ground, hunting heat and sound. They come when the storm is loudest. They never come alone. Lyra held Rin closer. Then we need to hide, she said. Kale shook his head. Hiding won't help. We need to move. But where? There's nothing out there. Kale walked to the edge of the cave and threw something into the storm. It was a smaller sphere the size of a pebble. It blinked red, then blue, then vanished into the snow. "That will lead the way," he said. He picked up a long black stick. It looked like a walking pole, but it lit up like a weapon. Lyra stood up slowly, her legs still weak. "How far?" "There is a place underground. Warmer, older, safer, safe from those things." Cale looked into the storm. "Nothing is safe from them, but it's better than here." Lyra didn't argue. She wrapped Rin tight and tied him to her chest. The wind outside was deafening now, like voices screaming from under the snow. They stepped outside. The warmth shield dropped. The cold hit like a wall. Cale walked first. His eyes glowed brighter now. He moved fast and sure, his boots not sinking. In the snow, Lyra followed, each step hard. Suddenly, a strange noise came from the ground, like ice cracking, and something breathing. Cale stopped. "They're close," he said. Then the snow behind them exploded. A creature rose from beneath twice the size of a man, skin white like ice, eyes like frozen glass. It opened its wide mouth and shrieked. Lyra screamed. Cale raised his weapon stick, turned into a glowing blade. He charged. The fight was fast and brutal. Cale moved like lightning, slashing the creature across the chest. Blue blood sprayed into the snow. The creature fell, shaking, then went still. More noise came from the ground. Cale turned. Run. Lyra ran, feet sinking, heart racing, behind her. 3 more creatures broke through the snow. Cale held the line, fighting them one by one. His blade hummed with energy, cutting through frozen flesh. Lyra saw a dark opening ahead, a crack in the earth. She ran toward it, hoping it was the place Cale spoke of. She reached it and jumped inside. It was steep, but warm. She held Rin tight. As they slid down into the darkness, a moment later Cale jumped in too, landing beside them. The tunnel shook. Snow tried to fall in, but Cale threw another fire cube at the wall. Heat pushed the snow back, sealing the entrance. Silence returned, but not peace. Lyra looked at him. "What are those things?" "Forgotten creations," Cale said. "Made during the war, then abandoned here. Now they survive on whatever they find, including people." Lyra's voice shook. "How do you know all this?" Cale looked down the tunnel. "I've lived with their whispers for years. I've watched them grow stronger with every storm. I am the last who remembers who they were and what they became." He looked at her, his face half in shadow. "That's why I'm taking you underground, to where it all began." In the darkness. As the storm howled above, Lyra followed the man of fire and steel deeper into the earth toward old secrets. Strange machines and answers buried in time, and maybe the reason she and Rin were brought here at all. Asterisk, opening hook. The tunnel walls glowed with strange blue veins like the place itself was alive. As Lyra walked deeper, she realized something chilling. This wasn't just a shelter, it was watching. Then Cale walked ahead, silent as ever. Its glowing eyes scanned every corner of the tunnel. Lyra followed, holding Rin close. The warmth here felt unnatural, like a machine breathing under their feet. "Where are we?" she asked softly. Cale spoke without turning. "An old world. One that time forgot." They entered a wide chamber. The walls were smooth metal, curved like a giant egg. Screens flickered dimly. Machines covered in frost began to blink to life. As Cale stepped near them, Lyra looked around. It wasn't just a cavern, it was a control room. Cale touched a round panel. A soft tone echoed, and a large hologram appeared in the center. It showed a map of this planet. Dots blinked red across it. "This was once a science base," Cale said. "Built by humans many years ago. They came to study the ice. They made mistakes." Lyra frowned. "What kind of mistakes?" Cale pointed at a blinking red zone on the map. "They tried to create life that could survive extreme cold, fast-growing, adaptable, powerful. But it turned into something else. Wild? Hungry?" She shivered. "The creatures." Cale nodded. "They were made here, controlled here, until everything failed." Lyra stepped back, heart racing. "You lived here?" I was born here, he said quietly. Not like most. I was built. She froze, built. Cale finally turned to face her fully. He'd pulled back the metal plating from his arm. Underneath were wires, glowing veins, and pulsing lights, but mixed with human flesh. I was part of a project. A human mind inside a machine body. The scientists called me Hybrid Unit 7. I called myself Cale. Lyra stared at him in silence. She didn't see a machine. She saw a man who had been alone for too long. Why didn't anyone come back for you? They did, he said, but not to save me. They came for something else, something they left behind. He turned to look at RIN. Lyra stepped in front, protectively. My son. Cale shook his head. Not him, but something inside him, his DNA. It's different. Lyra's voice trembled. He was born during the war. They said he was special, stronger, but I never understood why. Cale nodded slowly, because he carries part of the project. We're trying to create a new kind of human, cold-proof, fast-healing, connected to machine signals. Lyra felt dizzy. But he's just a baby. Yes, Cale said. His body is already changing. That's why the enemy sent a signal. Lyra's eyes widened. They're coming. They want the child. They don't care about you or me, just him. Suddenly, lights in the room flashed red. A loud voice came. From the speakers, incoming craft detected. Ida, 10 hours. Cale moved fast, typing on a glowing panel. Lyra's heart pounded. We have to run. Cale shook his head. Can't outrun a ship. We prepare. We fight. You and me. Fight them. Cale looked at her seriously. You're stronger than you think. I'm not easy to kill. She looked down at Rin, still asleep in her arms. I won't let them take him. Cale nodded. Then we stand together. Behind them, a door hissed open. Inside was a hidden room, lined with old weapons, armor, and forgotten tech. Like a small war waited in the shadows. Lyra stepped inside, eyes wide. This was their last defense, Cale said. They built it in case the creatures escaped, or the enemy returned. She touched a small weapon. It buzzed softly in her hand. This is real, she whispered. Cale looked at her almost softly. Yes, and it begins tomorrow. As the base lights dimmed and the ship approached from the stars, Lyra realized the truth. This planet had never been dead. It was waiting. And now, her baby was the key to everything that had been left behind. Opening hook, the stars above the frozen sky began to blink, not with light, but with movement. Something was falling. Not a star. Not hope. A ship. And it knew exactly where to land. Far above the planet, a black vessel cut through space like a silent knife. No lights, no sound, just dark metal and a deadly purpose. Inside the underground base, alarms buzzed. Cale stood still, staring at the red light blinking on the map. They found us, he said calmly. Lyra tightened her arms around Rin. The baby slept, but his tiny fingers twitched, as if feeling the change in the air. She looked at Cale. You said we had 10 hours. Cale shook his head. They came faster. Their ship isn't normal, it's military. Fast, cold, silent. He pressed a few buttons. A screen showed a shadow falling through the sky. Lyra felt the walls around them shiver. How do they know where we are? She asked. Cale didn't answer right away. He walked to a dark terminal and pulled a thick cable from the wall. Then he turned. They're tracking him. Lyra's eyes widened. My son. Cale nodded. He's sending a signal. Not on purpose. It's in his blood. The tech inside Hymek calls out. It's waking up. Lyra's heart sank. Can we stop it? No, but we can block it for a little while. Long enough to make them guess. He walked over to Rin, gently touched the baby's forehead, and placed a small round device under his blanket. Signal mask, Cale said. They'll lose his location, but not for long. Lyra watched him, her fear turning into fire. Why do they want him? Cale looked directly at her. Because he's what they couldn't create. A natural-born hybrid. It's not just a child, he's a future. She swallowed hard. So they'll kill me and take him. Cale didn't speak. That was her answer outside. The sky above the ice cracked open. A sleek black ship landed with no sound, just a wave of wind that melted the snow around it. The ship opened like a mouth, and dark figures stepped out. Tall, fast, covered in armor. Their helmets had no faces. They didn't talk. They scanned, looking, searching. One raised a hand. A red drone shot into the air, scanning the area, inside. The base, Kale watched them from the screen. They brought seekers, he said. Machines that smell heat and memory. We can't stay here. Lyra pointed toward the back. There's a tunnel? Kale nodded. It leads to the old power core. It's dangerous, but they won't expect us to go there. Shh. She held Rin tighter. Then let's go. Before they left, Kale opened a locked cabinet. Inside was a suit not armor, but flexible and full of circuits. He handed it to Lyra. Wear this, it will help you move faster, stay warm, and hide your heat. It surprised. This is from the old world? He nodded. One of the last they made. You're the last who should wear it. She changed quickly and felt her body warm up. Energy flowing through her arms and legs. Kale strapped on weapons, one on his back, two on his sides, and a strange one across his chest. Then, before they entered the tunnel, he did something Lyra didn't expect. He reached out and touched Rin's hand. He's warm, Kale whispered as if shocked. Lyra looked up. You didn't expect that? I forgot what life feels like, he said softly. Then the moment was gone. They stepped into the tunnel. The lights dimmed behind them. The path ahead was tight, dark, and filled with broken machines. Above ground, the seekers found the entrance to the base. One tapped its helmet. The signal returned. No life detected. Another paused dash, listening far away. It heard something, a baby's heartbeat, faint deep. Below, the seeker turned its head, and the hunt began again. Down in the dark, Lyra and Kale walked fast. Every step echoed. We're not alone down here, Kale whispered. Lyra gripped the baby closer. What do you mean? Kale's voice was low. There are things in the lower tunnels. Machines left to rot. Some still. Remember, she asked. Will they hurt us? Maybe, Kale said. But they hate the Seekers more. She blinked. Why? Kale's metal hand lit a soft glow ahead of them. Because they remember. The war, and they never forgot who caused it. Asterisk opening hook. The machine didn't have eyes, but it saw her. Had no heart, but it knew how to kill. Now it was crawling through the tunnels, coming for her child. The deep tunnel shook. Under Lyra's boots, dust fell from the ceiling. The baby, Rin, stirred in her arms. His eyes opened for a second, glowing faintly. Kale, she whispered. They're close. Kale stood ahead of her, scanning the walls with his glowing hand. The old tunnel, bent like a maze. Every corner looked the same, but Kale's body seemed to sense the way. They're moving fast, he said. But we're almost there. Where? Lyra asked, her voice tense. Kale pointed forward, to the core. If we activate it, we can shut the base and trap them inside. Lyra blinked. Won't we be trapped too? Kale looked back at her, not planning to leave. Above, the black-armored Seekers entered the base. They moved without sound, their weapons glowing with cold blue light. They split into groups. One headed down. One stayed to watch the ship. The third one paused. Its scanner caught a faint pulse, not a life sign. Signal from the child below. Kale reached a large door round, sealed, rusted. This is it, he said. He placed his hand on the metal nothing. Then the door responded. Blue veins lit up around the edges. The tunnel walls pulsed with light. The door opened. Inside was a vast round chamber. At the center was the old power core glowing orb, the size of a car floating in the air. Wires curled around it like vines. Sparks jumped across it like fireflies. Kale walked in slowly. This place runs on memory, he said. It remembers the war. It's the failure, the pain. I was born here. I will finish it here. What do we need to? Kale looked around. You protect Rin. I'll power up the core. As Kale worked, Lyra hid behind a broken console. She cradled Rin close. His breathing was faster now. His little hands glowed softly, then dashed footsteps. Metal. Looked up. One of the Seekers had found them. It entered the chamber slowly. No face, no sound, just cold purpose. Kale turned, raising his arm weapon. Run. The Seeker moved fast, firing a blue shot. Kale jumped in front. The blast hit his shoulder, sparks flew. Lyra ran into the side tunnel, holding Rin. She didn't look back. Kale charged. His blade flashed, slicing through the air. The Seeker dodged, fought back, metal against metal. Another Seeker arrived. Now, there were two. Kale took a deep breath. This is it, he whispered. He slammed his palm into the core's panel. The orb glowed. A loud hum filled the room in the side tunnel. Lyra stopped. The ground shook under her feet. She heard the machine screaming. She heard Kale's voice through the walls. Lyra. She knew what he meant. She reached into her suit's pocket, found the small energy key he had given her. She placed it into the wall. The system recognized her DNA. It lit up green. Final lock activated. In the core room, Kale looked at the Seekers. One moved to stop him. Too late. The orb exploded in light. A wave of energy blasted outward, ripping through the chamber. The Seekers froze, locked in place. Their bodies shut down, shaking violently. Their systems were overloaded. Kale's body sparked. His voice was quiet. For the child. Then silence. Lyra rushed back into the room. The Seekers were frozen, smoking. Kale was on the ground, his body burned, armor cracked. She ran to him. Kale. Kale. He opened one eye, barely glowing. You're safe, he whispered. She held his hand. You did it, she said. Tears falling, Kale looked at Rin. The baby reached out his fingers, glowing like soft stars, when he touched Kale's chest. The broken lights flickered, then pulsed. Slow. Steady. Alive. Far above. The ship in the sky lost signal. The base was gone, the Seekers were gone, and Rin was still there. Opening hook, the snow had stopped. The sky above the dead world was finally clear. And from the broken ground below, a new sound rose. A baby laughing. Lyra stood at the entrance of the ruined base, holding Rin against her chest. The wind was quiet now. No screams, no cold storms. Only silence, kind silence. She looked behind her. Kale lay against the wall. His body, half machine, half burnt, but his chest was moving, slowly, still alive. Rin reached out and touched Kale's metal arm again. This time, it glowed brighter than before. Like something inside him was waking up. Lyra smiled through tired tears. You feel that? He's connected to you. Kale opened one eye. He's different, he whispered. More than machine. More than human. Lyra nodded. So are you. Kale tried to sit up. His legs didn't move. Systems damaged, he said. She knelt beside him. We'll fix it together. Outside, the sky turned orange with the first real sunrise this world had seen in years. The planet was still cold, still quiet, but something had changed. Later, Lyra stood near the wreck of an old satellite tower. Kale had helped her connect it using his own core power. She fixed the wires. He boosted the signal. Rin watched from her back, wide-eyed. She turned to Kale. Will this work? He nodded. Aye. It will reach any rescue ship listening. We only need one. Lyra pressed the button. A single green light blinked. Signal sent. Now. They could only wait. That night, they made a fire near the mouth of the tunnel. Not with tech, just real flame. It felt warm, alive. Ancient Kale sat beside it, his body weak but healing. Wires in his chest glowed softly. Rin crawled toward him and placed a small toy a round stone into Kale's hand. Kale held it tightly. He looked at Lyra. I thought I would die alone on this planet. She smiled. We're never meant to be alone. He looked at the child. He saved me. She nodded. He saved both of us. The next morning a sound broke the sky. Engines. Distant but real. A rescue ship. Lyra jumped up. They heard us. She waved a flare into the air. The ship circled once, then began to land. Slowly. Kale didn't move. He just stared up at the sky, blinking against the sunlight. When the ship touched down, two figures stepped out in silver suits. They approached slowly, weapons lowered. One of them removed her helmet, a woman human. She looked at Lyra, then at the child, then at Kale. We picked up a pulse, she said, but we didn't expect survivors. Lyra held Rin tight. We're more than survivors. The woman looked at Kale. What is he? Kale answered for himself. Guardian, he said quietly. They helped Kale into the ship. His systems connected. To the medical bay, they scanned Rin. No illness, no threat. Just something new, something bright. The crew couldn't explain it, but they called Earth. They said, we found a woman. A child, and a machine with a human heart. As the ship rose above the ice planet, Lyra held Kale's hand. Rin slept peacefully between them. Outside, the frozen world grew smaller. Inside, the future had already begun.